Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Power Talk, Millennium News 24. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson. Welcome on a nice, beautiful day of another beautiful, great show, great information, always great people. So we're going to get right into it. Again, we have a part two to our segment we started a couple of weeks ago. And I invited the brothers back because time was so short, dealing with the history and science of the Moors of Islam that people hear of but don't know much about, or say, "Oh, I heard of the Moors," but what do you know? What have you heard of them, or what do you know of them? But the greatness of them and that shed light to give civilization to Spain and throughout Europe, where no one talks about. But we have two brothers here today who will continue that talk. I have brother here, Kamitu Bey. Kamitu Bey. Yes. And we have Sheikh Douglas L. Right, of the Moorish Science Temple of America here in New York. And we're going to get into it. And I'll start with you, Kamitu. Yes. If you could go and shed the light now, because part one, people were asking questions about Moor and what is Moor. So I said, well, we'll bring the brothers back who will give us that history. So
yes, thank you for that introduction, Brother Eric. I'll be glad to be back again, and on this particular Sunday at the Millennium News, and the science behind us as Moorish people goes back into history. All right, and when you go back to ancient Kemet, which they know today as Egypt, all right, the Egyptian scientists were the forefathers of the Moors who had brought this information throughout the world through Moorish science, history, medicine, botany, whatever you can possibly think about that this modern world has today came through the Moors, all right, by the way of the ancestors, their forefathers, what they know today as ancient Egyptians. Very important that I stress that. Another factor, too, is literature, because Nobuchu Ali, our prophet, says in order to change the people, you must change the literature. So I'm into linguistics very heavy for over 40 years, and I will have to be the first one to tell you that there's a list of books out there that you can go get on whatever social media that you can get the books on. Like, for instance, Ancient and Martin Britain by David McRitchie is a 2-volume book. Ivy Van Sertimer, who wrote a book, or edited a book, I should say, called The Golden Age of the Moors. You got John G. Jackson and The Introduction of Civilization. He writes about the Moors. You got Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. He writes about the Moors. Of course, we got J.A. Rogers, all right, in his book called Sex and Race, all right, or Africa's Gift to America, all right, or The 100 Amazing Facts of the Negro, written by J.A. Rogers, writes about the Moors. There's so many books out there by our own authors and European authors who have written about the Moors, like, for instance, Stanley Lane Poole, who wrote the book called The Story of the Moors in Spain, all right? And then the second volume of it is called The Moors After Spain, all right? So those are the reference points that if anybody out there who wants to look more into our history as who we are to this day, those are the material that you can look into, all right? So we exist in the BC period. I say BC because the language is out there, especially on YouTube and Google, is inaccurate information is out there. Even the dictionaries have inaccurate information about us as Moors. Like, for instance, when you go to any of the dictionaries and look up the word Moor, right, they're going to give you the definition like Muslims, right, of people of North Africa, All right. And so they just limit that right there for the word more. Now, when you go to another part of the dictionary, they got this word called blackamoor. So now they turn around and put black on a Moor, which a Moor have never associated himself with the term black. So when you look at the word blackamoor, it's a different definition than the word Moor. So what is the definition for the word blackamoor? It says a Negro. All right. This is the term they say. All right. Or sub-Saharan, they would say something like that. All right. Or they may associate it with African American or colored. All right. Those terms that they would put in the dictionary. All right. Concerning blackamoor. So now, why would they put the word black onto the word more? That's very important to be aware of. All right. And the reason why is because of the black codes of 1724. All right. Where they use these laws from a religious perspective concerning the Papal Bill. All right. Vilifying the Moors, giving these derogatory names like the word negra, all right, or negro, all right, which is Spanish and Portuguese words. And when you look up those words in the dictionary, they want to associate that with the Moor, which means they're denationalizing and giving us what you call is identity theft. So it's very important that you can look up those references.
Very interesting point. Because I remember years ago, they used to, when you applied for a job or filled out an application, one of the check marks was Negro American.
True. True.
So now you just brought up a point when you said Negras. Now we see where it's stemming from.
Exactly.
But then now, so many years later, it came to saying African American.
Yes.
So I mean, there's a juggle and a swing going on with identity.
That's correct.
So when you talk about identity theft, you have a point there. What you're saying, because if you're a Negro today, you're a Negro tomorrow, right? Or if you this tomorrow, that tomorrow. But then why are they changing from Negro to African American, and they keep changing identity?
Yes.
So that's why it's important to be in control of your own destiny. But so welcome back, Mr. Sheck, today.
It's good to be here.
Yes, and you had gave us good information last time, but like I said, time was so short, it ran off. So you want to add on to this history part?
Most definitely. Just to touch on the history specifically, to kind of bring things into context, because you mentioned the word identity, right? Last show, we mentioned free white person, and it has everything to do with identity, because the misnomer is we'll think that Europeans are white people. Now, what I have here, and I brought you a copy, it basically says free white people, and this is Black's Law Dictionary that I referenced before. It says free white person referred to a Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1870, has meaning to naturally given to it when first used in 1 Stat 103C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European race, then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including descendants in other countries to which they have emigrated. It says it includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyar, Lapps, Finns, the Baskis, the Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenicians, North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slavs and Tabar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European race, nor the mixed Indo-European Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian people who inhabit in Persia. So I just want to tie that in because it's good to get the source, and I just wanted to follow up.
What book? Where's this coming from?
That's coming from the 4th edition of the Black's Law Dictionary.
Black's Law Dictionary. Wow.
Yeah, the Black's Law Dictionary.
Wow.
And again, you see, it brings all the way back.
What year? This is an updated version from the Black Law.
the blacks, they're updated versions, but the key to getting good information, the older version, because keep in mind that the current version is actually removing the older. So when you truly study history, you want to go back to older texts.
To the original, yeah.
Yes. So the 4th edition was giving us some authentic information. Like if you go to the current version, more than likely this would not be there.
Well, if it was in Black's law, that's law.
Yes.
That's the law.
So that's the law. So in connecting it with what Brother Kemet to you was saying just now, to even Prophet Noble Drew Ali's literature, the Prophet in his literature connected us to the industrious acts of Muslim by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He says the industrial act of Muslim of Northwest and Southwestern Africa. And one of the things he emphasized was that he said, these are the Moabites, the Hamites. So when you say the word Moor, it connects us back to the Moabites. And the Moabites have history in the Bible. Ruth the Moabitess. So the Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in the portion of Egypt, in later years, they formed kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco. Again, you see the word Moor. Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. They originated the beauties of the Alhambra, and to an unpracticed eye, the light relives the fanciful arabesque which covered the walls of the Alhambra appear to have been sculptured by the hand with minute and patient labor. And it says inexhaustibly variety of detail, yet a general uniform and harmony design, truly astonishing. But to kind of go down to the point where emphasize, it says this mode of disappearing walls with their arabesque and stuccoing, the vaults, the grotto, the work was invented in Damascus by highly improved by the Moors in Morocco, to whom the Cyrenaic architecture owes its graceful and fanciful details. It goes on and really emphasize that civilization was basically ushered in by Moors for the most part, the architectures. So you can't hide Moorish influence in the architectures around the world.
No, without a doubt. I mean, you see, I've seen it on 13. They did a segment one day on Spain.
Yes.
And they went back to Granada, Spain, and these different places, and they showed you the architecture was so great and so skillful. But they said came all the way back from the time the Moors occupied Spain, and it was from their design, from their architecture.
Yes, 711.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way to the last stronghold.
But I want to ask you a quick question about this right here in this Black Laws Dictionary. When it says free white persons, it's saying that the Moors of Portugal was considered free white persons?
Yes.
Let me explain that.
Yeah.
To be clear, because the United States, those descendants of Europeans have distorted the meanings of white. Because
that's what is actually what it's saying.
Yes, true. Because most people would think in their minds that the Moors are saying that we're white people. We're not talking about skin pigmentation when we mention white. All right, I think that needs to be clear. That's the distortion that's going on today.
It's a misunderstanding.
Yes, and that have to be clear and articulately so that the people can realize what they're referring to. All right, this is why I mentioned those books. Because why? Because in the same Black's Law Dictionary, you have a term called white money and black money. All right, I have to use that scenario so people can get an idea what's going on. So when they say white money, it doesn't mean that white money belongs to what we say today, white people. Yeah, there's no such thing as white people, ethnically speaking. All right, everybody has a nationality. All right, the Italians, the Irish, the English, the Greeks. All right.
We're going to have to hold and take a quick break.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Oh, I can get water, right?
Yes. Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson, host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also on Smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite. And also worldwide through www.millenniumtvnews.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com. And through our social media, Millennium News. See you there. Welcome back to Millennium News 24 Power Talk. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson, and we're joined here with Sheikh Douglas Bey and Kamitu Bey. And we want to continue on the subject here of the Black Law Dictionary when it's making reference to white persons, not meaning what we're programmed to think as white to be. But Kamitu, you want to finish?
Yes. So again, in the same Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition is where this definition is coming from. You also would have what you call as white money and black money. So they define what black money and white money is. White money is considered to be what they would call silver coins. That's considered to be white money. So this shows you that they're not talking about a people specifically. By color, by skin complexion,
because it's saying that it even includes European Jews and peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Latin, and Greek.
Yes,
that's all considered. Yes, and Moors.
Yes. But what I'm saying is this: so people got to. First of all, this is why we need to read the books by David McRitchie, Ancient Modern Britain. These people here, right, are being taken out of context in this particular definition. You say, what do you mean by that? When you read David McRitchie's books, the first and second volume of the book, you come to find out the Teutonics, the Tartars, all of them were Moors. The Scandinavians, they were Moors. The original Irish were Moors. The Scots were Moors. You can't be Scottish, Scotch.
So we actually had dark-skinned or black-skinned people who are
listed
considered
here.
White people.
No, they're not white people.
Free white. Not in the sense of what.
No, see, today's definition is what's causing the confusion.
Yeah.
Anybody of today's definition looks at today's definition in reference to the 4th edition of Black's Law Dictionary. This is not what they're talking about. This is why I have to be particularly clear. But I'm saying that everyone that you see that's listed on here, we're referring to be as Moors. All right? Even the Caucasian. Ivan Van Sertima, who edited the book called The Story of the Moors, The Golden Age of the Moors. In the southern part of Russia, which they call Georgia, right? You have the Caucasus Mountains right there. You had Moors living in the Caucasus Mountains. So even the word Caucasian is a misinterpretation, because when you hear the word Caucasian, you're thinking about these European descendants who are misnomed as white people.
Right.
All right? The Moors were known as Caucasians. Right? So people will be confused and think that when they say, wait a minute, the Moors are Caucasian, are you trying to say that they're white? Because we're using the wrong definition today for back then. The Moors lived in the bottom, near the Black Sea, right? By the Caucasus Mountain. What do the Caucasus Mountains mean? High place. It's a highland. Caucasus means high. All right? It had nothing to do with your ethnicity.
So would it be referred to geographic area?
That's what it is.
Okay.
The Caucasus Mountain is a geographical area, and the Moors have lived there.
Okay. So they could be referred to as
Caucasians because they live in the mountain, like a mountaineer.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to bring that out.
Can I expound on
Sure.
that briefly? In Moorish Science, teaching from the 101 by Prophet Noble Ali, it says, will you define the word white? A part of being Moorish is we always want to define the word. He says white means purity. Purity means God. God means rule of the land. Also, the word white was a status. So from a status perspective, it's the first class, the first people that originate in the land. So that's very important to put on the record, because when one now think about status, you have ones who come in with passports from Africa and they darker hue than you and I. And the status in their passport, they will check white. Now, they would not go with black because they know black, according to science, means death. Civilly mortuus, when you now define it lawfully. So the issue is political. It's a political demonstration.
Yes, that's
So
right.
when you have to look at it from a political point of view, we're looking at it from the pigmentation, and we're saying dark. But that chair is
It just seems like a trick right there.
yes,
to me.
that's the chair we're on is black. And I'm not saying that you don't have people who are heavily melanated, but the truth be told, these were statuses as one go into civilization, going back to what ID. So it's just first class, because what one understood was the dark aspect was white has to do with the light, the crystalline people, Christ consciousness, clarity, purity of something. So it's just like the white dress that is now utilized during marriages, etc. It's symbol purity.
I see that.
It's the checkerboard of chess.
So it's like flipping the script, you know.
And I also want to add on to that too. Like I said, I'm into linguistics. When they talk about white, because we have to look at what you call is equivocal. The English language today, y'all, are equivocal language. When we talk about white people, it's not the WHITE,
Right.
it's the WIGHT. The WIGHT is referring to the people who's calling themselves white. So what they're doing is flipping the script and purging themselves away from the WIGHT and now classify themselves as the WHITE, which is being defined here.
But just like Chuck say, people coming from Africa with passport and they checking off white.
True, but what I'm saying is, Eric, that it's very important to be clear to those who may see a bunch of confusion.
It as
yes, because of what's been going on today is a distortion. All right, so what I'm saying is, look up the word WIGHT, and you're going to see that it's talking about a person or people. So what's the difference between that white as opposed to the white that we normally would hear today? So these Europeans are taking on a status that was really not really their status. There was the WIGHT.
So you're being born in America and just given an identity that you know nothing of, pretty much, many of us.
Well, again, you know that this land unfortunately become the melting pot, all right? A lot of the Europeans from Europe came here, all right, to work under the crown as slaves or Slavs, right? Very important to be aware of that.
True.
And then a lot of them took on the indigenous status, and they're not indigenous at all to this land, all right? So then what do they call them? The $5 Indian, under who? The Dawes Roll, all right? Stealing the land of our brothers and sisters in this land, and they're getting funding in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When they go to Oklahoma, so many of the Europeans who were misnomered as white are running over there claiming indigenous status. Well, wait a minute. I thought you was white. I thought you was privileged. So why are you running over there in Oklahoma to get on indigenous status, which misnomered as Indian, all right? And so now you're claiming yourself to be an Indian, all right? And now they're getting funding from the federal government because they're claiming themselves to be Indian. Why I'm making that comparison is because that's no different of what is being defined here in the 4th edition of the Black's Law Dictionary of taking on this status that belongs to Moors, all right, so they can benefit. So that's why they can say that they're white to get this kind of privileges, all right? Because if it says free white persons, if they was truly free, why were they enslaved under the colonies of
you
Great
can say
Britain?
the same thing.
There you go. I have to articulate that fact, Eric.
No, but we can all say the same thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Because like he was saying, why should we be identified and say we black? It doesn't relate to us.
True.
Yeah.
True. But what I'm saying is that we should be identifying what is our Moorish forefathers, because we had a Moorish empire on this planet. All right. The Moors was all over Europe, all over India, all over Asia, all over the United States.
Maybe they should add on job application a box that says more.
Well, that's what I used to do so many years ago when I had to fill out an application and it says other, and I would check off other and I put Moorish American. All right, because black that's not a nationality.
Yes, I agree with you.
You follow me?
Yes.
Also, briefly, if I may, the word "blague," I think I mentioned it before, have to do with pale. So blague, etymologically speaking, have to do with the pale skin. So who's the pale man?
True.
It's the European, the pale skinned European who's not claiming to be white. So the word white was also connected to Whitmore, as in bright, bright more, as in the one who have what? The wittiness.
True.
Witty, smart, just like smartphones. So witty. So when we start to really look at it, the brightest people on the planet, truth be told, are the original people who we call Asiatics, which are us.
True.
The non-pale skin Europeans.
True.
Yeah. So we're getting to something. This is a very, very interesting topic to research, but a good thing we have a roadmap to where we can look and make reference.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at it in my face here from the book here in black and white, and now it's making a whole lot of sense because black is what they make as a name, as a reference to some people.
True.
But it doesn't mean it's the case or
It's
so.
not the nationality of that person.
It's true because they didn't know what to say. Because I mean, like I said, when I was growing up, I remember you checked off Negro. Now they all of a sudden, I don't know when it clicked in, but sometime now I'm starting to see African American.
Don't forget Marcus Garvey, back in his time, when he was putting the UNIA together, he wanted the people to identify themselves as Africans. All right. And he had a difficult time because the people were so acceptable to
programmed,
to the undesirable term called Negro. And Negro is the Spanish Portuguese word, means dead. It goes back to the word necra. Negro goes back, because the letter C and the letter G is interchangeable when you look at the dictionary. All right. So Negro and necra is the same synonymous word that we don't recognize. So we are not Negroes because we're not dead.
He used it in his acronym for United Negro Improvement.
Because our people didn't want to accept that they were Africans because they were far-fetched from the word African. So he can only use a word that the people can identify to bring them forward.
Until they could unravel from that.
Then who came along on the scene and did what that Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey tried to do, right, was the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, when he said that we were not Negroes, we are not blacks, and we're not colored. All right. These are terms that allude to what? Slavery. All right. So when you go back into the history during the time of the Papal Bull with the Pope giving the decree down to the European sovereigns, they was carrying out a ritual because the bull, right, goes back to us. The running of the bulls. When you see this particular ceremony that just show you in Spain, the running of the bulls out of Spain, all right, and they're using what color is the cape that they use?
Black.
No, Noble. Red.
Oh, the cape.
The cape that they use with the bull.
Oh yeah, the red cape. Yeah,
that's the red flag. That's the orange flag.
And they said that's to agitate the bull.
But that's the red flag.
Yeah.
All right, and the bull represents the Moors. Just like the Druids that was ran up out of Ireland, those were the Moors. But they're trying to make you think that it's something else other than the Moors. So it's very important to know this history.
Yeah, everything has symbolic to something.
Yes, but those were rituals.
Yeah.
Noble, what I'm saying.
And it's true. I'm wondering why now that I'm saying they do use the red flag, the cape.
Yes, the red cape, which is the Moorish flag. And then what they do to kill the bull, they take a sword and they kill the bull. All right? In the ceremony, which is a symbol of killing the Moors. Matter of fact, over here in this land, there's a river that divides Texas and Mexico. That's called that river is Matamoros. Matamoros means to kill the Moor. Matamoros. You can look these words up, So our presence is strongly here. The Europeans were diverting true definitions to connotative definitions to try to confuse us, just like you see in this dictionary.
Yeah, I see. I see it.
Now, the word Europe we can't even say that belongs to the pale-skinned man, because Europe goes back to the people called the Europa people, and it was the Queen Europa. So we are originally the original Europeans, is what this is talking about. If you want to really put this in perspective, you got to look at the history that the original place called Europe, to me, which is really North Africa, all right, according to the prophet's teachings. What I'm saying is that it was Queen Europa, and the name of the people was called the Europa people. So they changed it.
We're going to take a quick break. Come right back. Continue. Stay tuned. Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson. host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also on Smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite. And also worldwide through www.millenniumtvnews.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com. And through our social media, Millennium News. See you then. Welcome back to Power Talk show here at Millennium News 24. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson. I'm with you, and we continue on with the topic of the Moor, the history of the Moors, for those who may not know of it or who wants a roadmap to go to study or research. You know, it's not just a hearsay thing. Those who want to deny it or not claim it or to say it doesn't exist, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. I'm looking in the American law book, the Black Dictionary, not meaning black color, or it's called the Black Laws Dictionary, and it's defined here, as the brother mentioned, the sections and all, which I'm seeing for the very first time myself, but it's defined and it's clear.
May I say something?
Yeah.
Eric, not to interrupt you, but I'm listening to what you're saying, and people need to be aware of what is being said. Eric stated, this is coming from the Black's Dictionary. People would misinterpret that.
Of course, that's what I said there, because it said Black Dictionary.
Because they're going to think that this is something that a black man had put together.
Right,
no, the name of this European is called Henry Campbell.
Every attorney in America knows Black Law
Yes,
Dictionary.
but it's Henry Campbell Black is his full name. You can look that up by Googling it.
Yeah.
Henry Campbell Black is his full name. Black was his last name. Like today, you got people's last names is Black, Brown, Green. All right. So people would automatically misunderstood or misundertake that the term, the color that being used would
This is a white
identify.
black. This is a white black.
Yes, exactly. They would think they're talking about something ethnically.
Yeah.
When they're
But it's not. This is not ethically.
This is
It's a legal term of a man by named Black who actually was a Caucasian or white or pale skin, and this is a book, legal book that every attorney reads in America and probably even outside to study.
Yes.
So anyway, it's good to know. It just shows how it brings us back to history here, how we're all really defined through a system here in America that really doesn't directly identify us, but labels us. And it's good to have knowledge and to clear up certain things, but it's a whole system that's going to take a whole lot of time to change. But information wakes people up. So what do you have to say about the check? I mean, we
beautiful question. In regards to this, I just want to connect it to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Okay.
Because he says in the 101 questionnaires for Moorish Americans, it says, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. The very subject matter that we're speaking about is the way humanity stays fallen, because you have a nation of people who actually civilized the world who's been denationalized. And the great God Allah is not pleased. One cannot denationalize an entire nation of people and then keep one's iron hand oppression, meaning you're given the 28 days in February as Black History Month. No such thing existed prior to European institutionalized that demonstration. And when I say European, I'm speaking about pale skin European. In the 101, certain things are asked specifically. For instance, it says, why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale skin nation of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. So the same thing can be read. Why did Allah send Prophet Noble Drew Ali to this earth? To rescue the Moorish Americans from the iron hand oppression from the pale skin nations of Europe, who are governing a portion of America at this time. But we have to specify, we're speaking about the pale skin because all over the globe, you had melanated people.
True.
We were all 7 continents. The original people were us for the most part.
True.
We were always sojourning, migrating, and we populate the earth.
True.
So now some of our people lost pigmentation because of what? They went into the cold atmosphere and they were not getting their original food. So in More Science, 16 of the same questionnaire said, how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American? By teaching them to be themselves. The only nation of people that listen to a foreign nation as it pertains to who they are us. So 1774, they stripped us, marked us as black.
Was there a certain law that was in 1774?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
1774, the denationalization of the Moor. By 1776,
Was that in Congress?
the denational. We're talking about the first Continental Congress. This is now in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So start to look at it from that perspective.
True.
Right? So what truly happened, unfortunately, we have some of our own people. And this is the part we're not seeing ourselves.
True.
Our own people contracted, just like the Moriscos, with pale skin nations, and then decided, because it was people who look like you and I who held others in subservient, because the issue now becomes character.
True.
That's why the issue was purity. So the impure ones decided to no longer live according to the higher virtues, which is, we said, the highest self, the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that brings justice, mercy, love, and right. And they start to live according to their lower self, the slander, the lewdness, theft, murder, everything that harms. That's how we see the oppression of our people. Who goes to and fro the earth, seeking who may devour, grabbing land, and then displacing people, rename the land, just like we said, you know what I mean? Africa, before the Berlin Conference, had a different name.
True.
So after the Berlin Conference, they renamed it. Then the ones now who contract with the Europeans, they say, look, we're going to make you the next president.
Imagine, what year was the Berlin Conference?
1885.
You want to explain to the viewers what is the Berlin Conference for those who may
Yes.
not know? Because it is very important to know this.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, that's the concept also is called the scramble for Africa. What's going on is that these pale-skinned Europeans, and I have to articulate pale-skinned Europeans because the original Europeans were heavily melanated people. All right, so there was a war between the pale-skinned Europeans and the melanated Europeans. All right, because the first 5 kings of Rome were Moors. All right, who we had a problem with. The first 5 ecclesiastical bodies of orders were Moors. All right, but it's very important to be aware that based on the 1885 Berlin Conference, this is when the Europeans had their conference together to how they're going to divide up the continent of Africa.
Yeah, who's going to colonize
Yes,
what?
exactly. And that's basically what's going on today. Africa has been colonized by Europeans, and Malcolm X, our honorable late brother, tried to galvanize all the African nations together to sue the United States government, all right, for colonization and slavery, all right, you know, because they were also a part of that, what you call is the 1885 Berlin Conference, all right. 5 years prior to the 1885, you had the Democratic Convention in 1880, and you had the Republican Convention of 1880 the same year. So they were the epitome to the Berlin Conference, all right? Because you always got to go back in history to find out what was the origin of the Berlin Conference.
And this is something I know of, this Berlin Conference. So you should take very close note of this, and not to take what you hear in here, but to go and Google the Berlin Conference and read for yourself, because I've read it. And it's a very, very crucial piece of information, because this explains the reason why you have suffering in Africa today, because of the colonialism, where they took control and sucked out all of the resources of these countries, that left the people poor and left them struggling even till today, and build up what you call Europe and stuff off the resources out of these countries.
That's right. And also, too, don't forget, the counter to the Berlin Conference of 1885 was the Bang Down Conference, what Malcolm talked about in details. Where
What year is that? Before Berlin?
No. That was the count after.
Okay.
I don't recall the year at the moment, but it was
But after. Okay.
It was the Bandung conference that Malcolm talked about, where all the Asiatic nations came together, all right, to counter the Berlin conference, all right, and the one who was supposed to have been trying to come into the Bandung conference, which he was banned, was W.E. Du Bois. Mm-hmm. He was going to be the ambassador for the U.S. on behalf of those pale-skinned Europeans. This sense here,
and they was going to counter it in a sense of what, decolonize?
Yes, decolonize.
But how would they do that?
Over. Well, again, they pulled together at that particular point in time. Then
would they ask for reparations, or would they ask them to be?
Well, it's a lot of details involved, Noble, because we would have to have another show for this to come back with the details.
But the name of the conference was what?
Excuse me?
The name of that conference?
Bandung Conference.
Bandung. That's important to know too. Yeah.
Yes, because Malcolm talked about the Bandung Conference. He was the one who was spearheading, all right, all those African nations from the Bandung Conference to sue the United States government, because he knew that the United States was the one who was behind the Berlin Conference of 1885. This is very important.
Yeah, of course. You kidding me? This is very important. Very important. I mean, what you were saying, Shaq, it's just, it explains a lot of reasons why things are the way they are today. You know?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. I think we got to always remember the power of a name.
True.
Whoever names you control you. It's like Google, Apple, Amazon. These are brands.
True.
Black, Negro, colored, Ethiopian, African American. These are brands. The name of a people needs to have a descendant nature.
It's like you giving a dog a name. You're its master, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In chapter 47 in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Circle 7, it says, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, Black, or colored race attached to the human family.
True.
Because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanites' nature from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers are, you are today without doubt or contradiction.
True.
There's no one who's able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefather unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator Allah himself.
True.
So he said these holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So again, the Moorish Science Temple of America is the first organization in America to teach our people who's been denationalized,
that's right,
labeled Black, Negro, colored, etc., and by Jesse Jackson, African American, and not giving them the true name, which is Moorish, because you're connected back to the fact that you were Moors when you fell, and you're now in America, descendants of Moroccans born in America. Why are we Moorish America? Because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America.
Now, where is Morocco? Because we have to clarify that. Tell them where Morocco is.
We're in
ancient Morocco.
Ancient Morocco is here. This is the empire. The kingdom is over there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali had the Moroccan flag, what they call the Moroccan flag, which is the Moorish flag, here in America from 1913 all the way to the 1929, 1913 to 1929, when he veiled his form. So once you now see that the Moroccan flag, what they call the Moroccan flag, was already here, being waved by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, being utilized by Moors here. 1956 is when the kingdom basically was restored, because the French left and they got their independence from French. So when we start to look at it within the right context, within empires are kingdoms, but not the other way around.
True.
That's why when I read earlier, he said that they had kingdom. From the halls of Tripoli to the halls of what? Montezuma.
True.
Montezuma is right here in North America.
That's right.
Okay. He's one of the ancient prophets over here when you start to look at the folklore and the teaching of the Mexicans. So
he came from the Mexican, right?
Yes. Montezuma is seen doing the same demonstration, holding up the woman, because she represents humanity, as Prophet Noble Drew Ali is doing on the image of the 101. So as Moors, we pretty much are here to uplift. This simple pamphlet, which is the Circle 7, said the Industrious Act of Muslim of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamites, Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua to receive permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to set up the portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdom. These kingdoms are called today Morocco.
We're going to take a quick break and turn right back.
Beautifully put, Mo.
Yes.
Beautifully put, yeah.
Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson, host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also, all smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite. And also worldwide through www.millenniumtvnews.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com. And through our social media, Millennium News. See you then. Welcome back to Power Talk, Millennium News 24. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson. I'm with you, and we're going to continue on our last portion of our show today, dealing with Moorish history and the truth of free white people and what it means, not as we were programmed to accept, that now is being revealed on the truth of it all. Like I say, you don't have to take it from here. I have the facts in front of me, and I know this book that is coming out of, because this is the actual book that every attorney and judge of America reads and studies, and it's accepted nationwide and worldwide as an official legal document. So what's written there is law. So back to you, Sheck. We're gonna go right to you, commit to you, because the time is running. You want to finish that part you were saying?
Yes. What I was basically quoting from is the Holy Quran of the Moor Science Temple of America, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali. In our last talk, we discussed the difference between a Rasul and a Nabi, and emphasized that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a messenger to us because of what we hear being denationalized in America, North America specifically, or the Western Hemisphere, being called Black, Negro, Colored, etc. Now, it is said that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he brought the Quran of Mecca. Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought the Holy Quran of the Moor Science Temple of America, Circle 7, divinely prepared. He said he was divinely prepared by the noble prophet. In other words, he brought information to get us back to living according to the highest principles known to man, which are love, truth, peace, and justice. The teachings in this book says what? Know thyself and Allah, the study of self. So this is the ancient teachings, over 10,000 years old. He said the lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I'm a prophet, and we define prophet as a thought of Allah manifest in the flesh. In other words, truth that can't change, descendant nature, and somebody who's just okay being themselves and nobody else. And the servant is worthy of his hire. You may receive this pamphlet at the expense. He said the reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims, and that's who are considered Muslims. Moors are Muslims. Mohammedans are Muslims. Asiatics are Muslim, not Europeans. Paskin Europeans. The Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of Muslims of America, all authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927. So he gave us a pamphlet and a 100 questionnaire to help the people to get back to their right state of mind. From 1927, this pamphlet has been in circulation.
Wow, wow. That's great information. There's something to look, definitely to study, to look into. But as the time is going on, we thank you for that. As the time is going on, there's some other additional history going on here, right? In America.
Yes.
To be to you.
Yes.
So
yeah, but I want to also expound on so you can see where I'm coming from. There were some Moors, their wives and their children were captured and sold down to slavery in South Carolina, a place that we all can recognize. All right. And when those Moors were sold down into slavery, their wives and their children, these Moors had the opportunity to purchase and buy themselves, their wives and children out of slavery. All right. It was called the Sundry Free Moor Act of 1789 to 1790. Now, what was interesting about this act, they didn't stop at just buying themselves out of slavery. They put in the legislation in the state of South Carolina, which anyone of you can get it from the archive department of the university. And what was interesting is that these Moors said if we was to be accused of a crime to be amendable, right, that they didn't want to be tried by laws that govern who? Free blacks and the Negro Act that was brought out. Look at the year, 1789 to 1790. They knew that they were not Negroes. They knew that they were not blacks. All right? So it's very important to know that this is a history right here in this land with our Moorish brothers and sisters who fought for their freedom as Moorish that at that particular time. Then you had the Moroccan Treaty of 1787, all right, which was prior to the Sundry Free More Act, all right? And when you read those articles of our treaty with the United States government, all right, you would come to find out that we were never supposed to be enslaved in this land, according to that treaty. But they broke that treaty. They're going to say that the longest standing treaty between the United States and the Moors is the Moroccan Treaty of 1787. That's not true. Because if that was true, why did they do to us what they did to us? And I also want to bring to your attention real quickly, because I know time is of the essence, right? It speaks right here, where it says here, and this is the conflict. And this is coming from, of course, the free white persons, all right? It was making mention, I'm trying to figure out the area when I want to show you where there's an issue here. It does not mean Caucasian race, which I clarified it earlier. The Aryan race or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European. You see, they say mixed Indo-European. One section says Indo-European race, then the next sentence it says the mixed Indo-European. So what do they mean by that? All right, like Brother Sheck stated that we were all melanated people. So who's this mix? All right, so the original Indo-Europeans were us. The mixed ones were someone other who wasn't us. All right, so I think that's important. But listen to what this says. The Dravidians, all right, the Semitics, the Mongolian peoples who inhabited Persia, Assyrian, look what they say, of Asiatic birth. As far as the Moors is concerned, we have Asiatic birth, which is what we teach, right? And descendant will not be what? Entitled to become what? A naturalized citizen of the United States. Well, you know who talked against this naturalization of the United States? Our prophet Noble Jew Ali. He says that if the Declaration of Independence said that if all man is considered to be equal, there was no need for the 14th, 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment is where they get the naturalization. They're making you subject. So who is there to define us who we are as a people? You see what I'm saying? So it was the United States. Whoever those Europeans were in the United States, they was the one who came and constructed this naturalization to redefine people from their national creed and their nationality and their birthright. So they're telling you right here that the Asiatic birth, right, is not accepted as naturalization. Well, I agree with that. Because this naturalization that they're talking about is in the 14th Amendment. All right? So I agree with that. I wouldn't want to be naturalized in the United States. This is even why even the Sundry Free Moors didn't want to be naturalized. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to just bring out that historical fact.
Yes. And I want to, good point, though. Definitely. And that's something we should go into, study into. Go into the Constitution. It's important we read these things because there's a lot of language and things that's making reference to a lot of things we're discussing that we'll never know if we don't read it.
True.
Go study the 14th Amendment. Go see what he's saying. Like I said, don't take it from here. I mean, if it wasn't factual, or that's why I tell them, you're going to come to speak and talk, bring the proof. And here we have something for you to go to research and see the proof. But Sheck, I want to ask you, because all these points are being brought up, don't you think there should be some efforts brought up in the American education system in including some of this information in the history? Because you go into these history classes of the schools and they teach you, yes, about George Washington, yes, about Christopher Columbus. We know this is the old shenanigan game for years and years, but all of this other stuff that's missing in the history and stuff that's very pertinent to the existence of all what they're teaching. Shouldn't it be a campaign or some efforts to put this into the education system?
Most definitely. I agree with you 100%. Keep in mind, that as Moors, we do have our own education system. We have the Moor Sunday School. Every Sunday we do teach. Even right now, as I speak, our Sunday school is actually going right now. Keep that in mind. Prophet Noble Drew Ali also just emphasized the fact that we are supposed to be industrious and build our own school. So that's definitely something
that's so you have control.
Yes, we're in the process. Another thing I want to mention, the United Moor Science Temple of America, the National Grand Sheikh, Nathaniel Booth Ill, his pen name, he's also known as Cosmo Ill. So if you were to Google the name Cosmo, C-O-Z, M-O-E-L, you're pretty much going to see a lot of books that's already being utilized by some of the HBCUs as well to teach about more. So like Brother Kemeti was speaking earlier about authors. Again, Cosmo Ill, just Google, he has over 13 books. And a lot of
he authored them?
Yes, he's the author. So the United Moor Science.
Probably can find them on Amazon too.
Yes, it's all over Amazon. Very simple. Just Google the name Cosmo Ill, and you can be able to get some of those books that speak about our Moorish history as well.
Well, that's a great thing. We thank you, brothers, for this great knowledge here today and information. It's a whole lot, but it's a good roadmap right into the big pot of wealth of knowledge that has been covered for so long. But now that the veil has been lifted,
yes,
it's very important because it's like a slap in the face for someone to mislead, misguide, mislabel, and misdirect you from yourself. Especially when you come into finding that you've been put down and bamboozled down a road that of such behavior that you've been from others, then you feel a way about that because it's actually a setback. But even though we come down to the forefront, but then how far and how much more developed we have been if we have not been sent down the wrong road, but that's why we invite you and we thank you for this information because the future generations will never have to go through what we went through. We never have to be labeled how we were labeled because the veil has been lifted and knowledge will go forth regardless of who and what. When Allah ordains something to go forth, is going to go forth. So there's no more stopping or covering something that's been lifted and revealed because it's here, right here. And it's right here with these brothers and the knowledge that's out. And as the schools and education is going on, public school system don't have to teach it because why rely on you to do something that we should be doing for ourselves? So we can't ask and demand that because, like the brother said, many of the books that the teachers are coming to teach the classes from are authored by many of these brothers. So we don't have to ask them to do it and go through the red tape of legislation and policy change. Just give the teachers the book and tell them to teach from it. So we have right here. We have what is this?
ProphetNobleDrawley.org is basically a website that one can go to get more information as it pertains to the teachings.
Yes. So anything pertaining to us and our history and awakening and uplifting of us, we should look into and study. Knowledge is power. Knowledge comes from many different places. So we should not overlook one thing because we may disagree or we may feel we disagree with it until we study it and then realize we don't disagree with it. So propaganda sometimes is a tool, is a tool that destroys your mind. It's a tool that prevents you from advancing. So let's not worry about propaganda. Let's look into truth, study, cross-reference, research, and we'll know what is truth. But I can tell you this Black Law Dictionary is clear. And so having the record straight, commit to you. I know having a brother like you in the studio, we need 10 hours. And then we have to call you back for another 10. So we ain't go, we're going to have to keep this going on. And the brother prophet here, right here, I mean, there's no time to say an hour is just like saying good afternoon to you. But we'll be back again.
Yes.
But go research what you've learned today. And, you know, it's all about educating and teaching. So thank you for tuning in to another wonderful show here, Power Talk. And we look forward to more interesting topics and discussions in the near future to come. And if we don't, our next show will be until after the new year. So everyone have a blessed, prosperous, and peaceful new year. One love. Thank you. Salam.
Salam.